الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. اللهم لعن ولا ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلق الله أجمعين محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين، واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. This being the first month in the year of the Hijri that was originally before they transposed it to Muharram. In this holy month, the only birth that takes place in this month is the most venerated birth in the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, because it is the birth of the firstborn child for Rasulullah. When we say the firstborn child, it is the firstborn child because the posterity of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam comes through Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala. But unfortunately, when it comes to the second holy Imam, not only is his shrine in tatters when you go to visit Al-Madinah al-Munawwara, not only has he had oppression and opposition from his enemies, but even amongst ourselves, amongst the believers. It suffices when I see people live like Ali and Dala Hussein, or fight like Ali and Dala Hussein. This speaks volumes. It's as if to say that something's questionable about the life of the fighting of Imam Hassan. Imam Hassan alayhi salam was the champion of the Battle of Basra, the champion of Harb al-Jamal, which was the biggest battle. If you look at all the battles that ever took place, the most casualties was the Battle of Basra, Battle of Jamal. And the Batal, the hero, the champion of Basra was Al-Hasan ibn Ali sallallahu alayhi wa salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So when I look at this and I negate his position and I say die like this person or die like that, when we read in the ziyarah we say Allahumma ja'al mahyaya mahya Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa mamati mamata Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. That I want to live and die like Rasulullah and his immaculate progeny. This is what I want. Because all their lives, they all lived like Amir al-Mu'mineen and they all died like Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. In any position that they were given, they would stand like this. And when we're told, we are told that they are our qudwa, they are our uswa, they are the ones we have to emulate, they are the ones that we look at as the premium example in our lives. If I want to know how to live, I look at them. قَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِيهِمْ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. Allah Azza wa Jal, when He speaks about His prophets, He doesn't say, this one, don't be like that one. He says, all of them, they are your example. Exemplary is the names that were mentioned in Dua al-Iftitah. One after the other, they are exemplary. The second holy Imam, in one incident, shows us how exemplary he is. Suffices that when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam wants to allow you to know if you are, one of the questions we want to know, does Allah love me? Does Allah hold me in regard? Does Allah actually love me? I'd love to know that. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam in this narration, he says, Man ahabba al-hasani, man ahabba al-hasana wal-Husayn, ahbabtuh. That whoever loves Al-Hasan and Al-Husayn, Rasulullah says, I love him. وَمَنْ أَحْبَبْتُهُ أَحَبَّهُ اللَّهُ. So if you love Hassan and Hussein, Rasulullah says, I love you. And if I love you, Allah loves you. وَمَنْ أَحَبَّهُ اللَّهُ أَدْخَلَهُ الْجَنَّةِ. And whoever Allah loves places him in paradise. That's why when we read Ziyarah or Dua Abi Hamza al-Thamali in Shahr Ramadan al-Mubarak, we say, Allahumma in adkhaltani al-Jannah فَفِي ذَلِكَ سُرُورُ نَبِيِّكَ. If you place me in paradise, therein is the happiness and joy of our Prophet, of your Prophet. وَإِنْ أَدْخَلْتَنِ النَّارَ, at the same time, فَفِي ذَلِكَ سُرُورُ عَدُوِكَ. If you place me in hell, you know, شيء بشيء يذكر. You know, sometimes when someone mentions, oh look, they're celebrating the death of this person or the martyrdom of that person, I say, that's good. I'd be very upset if they were weeping. If I saw your enemy weeping over your martyrs as an issue, you know, how can he like him too? Let him celebrate. This is what I want him to do. Because he's going to celebrate today, tomorrow he's going to be the one weeping in the hereafter. So then he says about Al-Hasan, not only those that love him enter paradise, he says, وَمَنْ أَبْغَضَهُمَا عن الحسن والحسين صلوات الله وسلامه عليهم أبغضته. Whoever hates them, I hate them. Oh, hate is a strong word. You hear when people say that? You know, the same people that raise villages. When I say raise, I don't mean they raise them like a cake using self-raising flour. I'm talking raise as in they set them alight. That burn villages, okay, and have islands where they molest children. You know? These types of people, they tell you hate is such a strong word. There's Allah loves, Allah hates. Whoever hates them, Allah hates them. He says, whoever hates them, I hate them, I hate. وَمَنْ أَبْغَضْتُهُ أَبْغَضَهُ اللَّهُ. And whoever Allah hates, whoever I hate, Allah hates. وَمَنْ أَبْغَضَهُ اللَّهُ خَلَّدَهُ النَّارِ. Not Allah will place them in the fire of hell. خَلَّدَهُ. Which means they have eternity in the fire of hell. They never get out. The one that, this is the station of Al-Hasan ibn Ali. And you are here to celebrate on these days. I know these aren't days where people are in the mood for celebrating. These are days of mourning where we've had, but this is the reason why we stand for what we stand for, these figures in history. And your love for them shows that your people that Allah Azza wa Jal loves in this station. So, when I look at his life, and we're going to look at a narration that we hear so often, a lot of the times people walk past this narration. You know how you just like, you hear hadith and walk past, here, nice hadith. But to understand the hadith, to go through the hadith, what do I learn from the hadith? And this hadith speaks about where Imam Al-Hasan alayhi salam is riding a horse. An Levantine is a Shemmi, someone from Syria. Walks past, and when we say someone from Syria, you need to remember the time. And it's pretty much what you see today. Back then, there was the master of what you see today. Muawiyah ibn Hind, ibn Abi Sufyan. Now, Muawiyah had raised the people at that time to detest Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. And he had taught them lies against him, that he did not pray, that he was against God, and what have you. And to the point, same as Imam al-Hasan. So when this man walked past and he saw al-Hasan, he began to abuse him. Yusabbilhu. Sab. Not only abuse him, he would swear to him and his father. Now, when he does this, You read the narration, while the man is abusing him, at no point does Imam al-Hasan cut him off. At no point does he stop him from abusing. He allows him to continue. First thing I need to think about is when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam was giving his commandments on his deathbed, those that were around him, of them, cut him off while he was giving commandments. Yet Al-Hasan ibn Ali would not even cut off the one that was abusing him. He allowed him to finish. Secondly, another thing is, right now, for example, when people tell you there's free speech in the West, we are confined to what we're allowed to say. You're not allowed to say everything. There's no such thing as free speech. These are all lies. You're allowed to speak freely about what you're allowed to speak freely about. You know, there's subjects you can speak freely about, subjects you can't. But to let you know what the Imma alayhum as-salam were right, think about this. Al-Hasan ibn Ali, the grandson of Rasulullah, the son of Amir al-Mu'mineen. If Amir al-Mu'mineen was such a threat, and Muawiyah made him into such a brutal person, then why did this man not fear this threat? Why was he freely abusing? Just like the one that cut off Rasulullah. Why do you find it so easy to call the Prophet a raving madman? Why? Because they're not like this. It's like when a Sheikh b'Sheikh yudhkar. You know, if you look in, when people sit there and they speak about the governments that we have, the Shia governments, and they say, oh, this is a dictatorship. I said, if it's a dictatorship, why are you free to say this? You know, we were once, my brother and I, was 2 years ago, during the, we were there in overseas, we were in Shandis, we were jumping on the train. It was during the protests. They had set a police officer alive, and we were dressed in, not with the turbans, alhamdulillah. So we were dressed in normal garb. And when we got onto the train, my brother started debating with these protesters, and I was speaking Arabic to my brother. I think they're going to kill us if you keep going. So he's debating with one of the protesters, and one of the things he said to the protester, he said, you set a police officer alive, on light. While he's alive, you set him alight, sorry. You set him on fire. He said in Australia, someone pushed the head of a police horse, not a police officer. I don't know if anyone remembers this incident. And they came down on him with batons. They started to beat him up. He said, you set a police officer alight. See, because the fact is, when you're around the followers of Ahlul Bayt, you don't have that same fear. It's not the same. Forget what you hear, what people say. Especially around the follower of Ahlul Bayt, you don't have the same fear as you have from those that do not follow Ahlul Bayt. Because for them, they have no red lines. They, like I mentioned the last time I spoke, they will murder children, and it's okay, and everyone will be complicit with it. Absolutely. So he didn't see the Imam as a threat, nor did he fear the Imam. Now, why do you think, here's another thing, Sheikh b'Sheikh yudhkar as well. Have you noticed the other sects, they don't practice taqiyy. When they're around us, they'll say, Abu Talib's a kafir, they'll say, nastajiru billah. They don't practice taqiyya. Do you know why? Because we don't have any videos of us cutting people's heads off. You know, we don't have any videos where you never ever see a video of a Shia scholar telling people, listen, we would like to drink their blood. I remember once this Kuwaiti sheikh, back in the days when Jabhat al-Nusra was in Syria and that, I better be careful because Jabhat al-Nusra and Daesh are allies of the West, so I can't abuse ISIS right now because they're good people in today's views. So back then, I remember this sheikh in Kuwait. He said, Ya laytahum ya'tuni. He says, I wish they bring me. He says, 10 youths of the Shia. And he says, of the Sada, حَتَّى أَتَمَتَّعُوا فِي نَحْرِهِمْ. He says, so that I seek pleasure and enjoyment from slaughtering their throats. We have no one in our people that speaks like this. So that's why you don't have any other sects practicing taqiyya except us. You see this from our figures. They were not afraid to speak like this. People would come up to Amir al-Mu'mineen, abuse him publicly. Ma afqahahu kafiran. One man said to Amir al-Mu'mineen, how smart is this kafir? About Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. They were able to speak like this, and that's why the Levantines spoke like that. After he finished, this is the thing, after he concluded, do you know what the Imam did? He greeted him with smiling and laughter and welcomed him. Yani imagine someone, you know, what we're saying in Lebanon is sabbahu li khallafuk. He swore to him and his father, and he greeted him with laughter. And then he said to him, أيها الشيخ أظنك غريبة ولعلك شبهت. You look, he says to him, like a stranger, and I think you've mistaken my identity. Notice the akhlaq of the Imam. He begins by giving him an excuse. He doesn't come up and go, inti asatta, I knew that's what you meant. When you said that, that's what you meant. We go to the worst possible way in order to bring somebody down. Oh no, when you said that, that's what you meant. Do you think I'm stupid? Do you think? Whereas the Imam looked for an excuse to get him out of what he just said. He said, maybe you're mistaken. Just like Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam in the battle of Uhud, when they were relentless in their attacks after the people had fled. Rasulullah was told by the angels, ask us, Ya Rasulullah, and we will destroy everyone present. And he said to them, Ma bu'ithtu lin-naqima. I wasn't sent for this, for vengeance and for wrath. Wa innama bu'ithtu lil-rahmah. I was sent for mercy. And then he raised his hands towards the heavens. Who is he talking about? The mushrikeen. Listen. And he said, Allahumma hdi qawmi fa innahum la ya'lamun. First he said, oh Allah, guide my people. And then he said, for they, what? Do not know. Well, for they do not know, he is finding them an excuse for their acts. So the Imam in this act shows us, if this person is slandering me, and this person is abusing me, and this person has bore enmity to me and my father, yeah, I'm looking for an excuse for him. Howbeit when I deal with those around me, the people around me, when someone mumbles something, oh, what did you say? You see a couple, they fight over the silliest things. Friends fight over things that could be avoided. Brothers fight over things, stop talking. For the slightest thing, he shows him what we should be doing, shows us what we should be doing. Then he says to him several things. He says, فَلَوْ اسْتَعْتَبْتَنَا أَعْتَبْنَاكَ. You know what that means? If you are reproaching us, you know, oh, you did this and do that. I'm not happy with you. You know, you did this, you did that. He says, أَعْتَبْنَاكَ, we'll appease you. عندك مصيبة بنحل لك إياها. Your problem, we'll fix it. Your issue with us will make you happy. You know, when someone says, come, ما يهمك, ما بسوي إلا اللي بيرضيك. Don't you feel good? You change your whole demeanor. He says, if you have an issue with us, we will not leave you إلا راضي, in other words. And then he says, وَلَوْ سَأَلْتَنَا أَعْطَيْنَاكَ. If you ask from us, we will give you. Yani, he's not only saying, even if you don't feel you are owed. You know, some people, they're just entitled. I'm entitled. I'm saying about myself. I'm not going to talk about other people. I always ask God for things I don't even deserve. We're entitled. That's the way we feel. We're entitled. You brought me into this world, start giving me. Yep, I want everything with all the extras, I want everything with every luxury you can give me with it. I don't want the biggest size you give me of this and that and that. Whatever it is, just give it to me. And he's not saying to him that if you are in need, he's also telling him by this, we are up to the task. See, I can't tell you, for example, no Rajul Deen, no alim you'll ever meet can tell you, I guarantee you paradise. But Al-Hasan ibn Ali can. You ask, we can give you, yes. If the Imam tells you, ضَمِنْتُ لَكَ الْجَنَّةِ, means حط إجريك on my birthday, you're going to paradise. If the Imam guarantees you paradise, you have paradise. Could you imagine when that man came and complained to Imam Ali ibn Musa Rida alayhi salam and said, people speak about me things that are not true. And he wept. And the Imam said to him, أَمَا يَكْفِيكَ أَنِّي رَاضٍ عَنْكَ. Does it not suffice you that I am pleased with you? If I heard that, I'd drop dead at the moment. That's it, I'll go straight to heaven. If the Imam just told me he's pleased with me, that's it. You're in. There's no other way. Wherever you walk, Munkar wa Nakir won't even look at you. Imam al-Rida said he's Radi Ank. No one will look at you. You're on your way, first class ticket. First stop paradise, there's no all stations, there's nothing. You're just going to go straight through. You're going to run till you get there. You're not going to stop at all those useless stops. Because there's no more useless stops, because Ali ibn Musa is Radin Ank. So then he says, وَلَوْ اسْتَرْشَدْتَنَا أَرْشَدْنَاكَ. You want guidance, we give you guidance. Not only we give you guidance, we are the guidance. Through us is the guidance. These other people you've been talking to, Muawiyah, who until recently, just to give you an idea, now you see Arhud and these other people visiting his grave. Before that, people used to actually go there to answer the call of nature. Go look at history. People needed to go to the toilet, that's where they would go, to the grave of Muawiyah. Go look at the history. This is where it was used for previously. This is the station of his grave. Because there was no guidance there. What you see now, imagine, how you saw that incident with the president spraying perfume? That was Muawiyah. Do you imagine Trump next to him spraying perfume at him and then playing a game of basketball with him? And that's how it is. Muawiyah would have been in the White House, frolicking in there. This is the same type of people that would have been there at the time. وَلَوْ اسْتَحْمَلْتَنَا حَمَّلْنَاكَ. That if you want transport, okay, we will give you transport. In other words, you will become honored as one of our followers. Ilak sharaf. It'll be sharafkun, honestly. You sit and you watch what you're looking at today. There are people, billahi alaykum, in the street. And have you seen how they respond when they asked? They say, we would rather live in the street with our dignity. We would rather live like this with our dignity. Then what? Then give up and hand over what we believe in to other people. This is sharaf. As a Shia, you're dignified. Honestly, you sit here all day and you look at yourself as followers of Ahl al-Bayt, and you look at your leaders, they stand defiantly when the whole universe is against them. Everyone's against them. And then you look at the others, they're genuflecting. I don't want to say what else they're doing. Okay? In order for them to get some crumbs from the table in the Oval Office. And God knows what else has been on the Oval Office. Remember, Clinton was there and all these other pedos that have ruled in this place. And I don't mean pediatricians. So these people that have lived at this time and been at this time, look at the other sects, their leaders and how they are with them, and look at the ones that follow Ahl al-Bayt, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhim ajma'een, and the way that they are at this time. Now, when he reaches the very end, it's a long hadith, and I don't want to, you have the recitation of the Quran to follow. He mentions at the very end, he says to him, فلو حركت رحلك إلينا. لو حركت رحلك إلينا, if you just started to move in our direction. وكنت ضيفنا إلى وقت ارتحالك كان أعود عليك. If you just stayed as our guest until the time you leave, it would be most beneficial to you. Why, he says? You imagine these to be the guest of the Imam. He says, لأن لنا موضعا رحبة وجاها عريضة ومالا كبيرة. Our place is homely. Being with them, you're not sitting, sometimes you could be in a 7-star hotel and you don't feel at home. He says, our place is homely. And then he says, there is a spacious dignitary. You'll be dignified with us. And finally, he says, there is great wealth. What is he speaking about? What is the grandest of wealth? What is the most dignified you could be? You ever see those little videos as to make before when they'd get a child and they'd say, we'll give you this, this and that, but you have to give up Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And the child would say, never. I would never give up Imam Hussein alayhi salam. You see people, that's all they ask for. They asked to be with Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. All I want to be. If someone asks you where you want to be, you tell them there, that's all I want to be. If the paradise has Abu Abdullah, that's all I want. I want to be there. This is what we have to give you. You have this love that you cannot get anywhere else. There's nowhere. There's nowhere you get. That's why people do not feel at home. If you ask people, would you rather holiday? You see these people, you're traveling, they're going to Phuket, Bali, God knows where, and you're going to Karbala. And if someone told you, would you just give up going to Karbala and I'll take you to the Seychelles or whatever they call it, Seychelles, isn't it? Or the Maldives or whatever, or Karbala. No one here would choose anything over Karbala. This is the dignitary the Imam speaks about. Being with them, you are dignified. So when the man heard all that the Imam said, he wept and then he said, Ashhadu annaka khalifatullahi fi ardi. You are the Khalifa. You are God's representative. This is very important. When I deal with people, I need to deal with this manner. Sometimes we feel that we have to retort when someone speaks. Obviously, when you're speaking to the red-headed dragon, yeah, you retort because she's the head of the whole monstrosity that exists here. All the animals here, all the servile people like the member, and I don't mean in his position, but what he actually is, that's over in Cogra and people like that. The reason these people, when you speak to them, you speak defiantly. But to the masses that don't understand, this is how you speak. This is how you interact with them. Because if one of them is to see the light, you've done enough. Just one. You've turned one. You've woken up one from all this darkness, and it's very clear. Very clear, and I'm going to leave you with this. Allah Azza wa Jal gives you a litmus that you can see. When He says in the Quran, قَدْ تَبَيَّنَ الرُّشْدُ مِنَ الْغَيِّ. قَدْ, certainly, indeed, guidance is clear from deviation. It's clear. How? Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam, they killed his infant. Everyone saw this. Today, have a look at every war. The first thing they did, even my brother was telling me this, I'm putting this one on you, because he said the school that they struck was a double tap. That they didn't hit it once. So it wasn't a stray rocket. They hit it once and they hit it a second time. So in case you have any doubt who the bad guy is, yani, listen, you don't have to be a Shia, you don't have to be a Muslim, you don't have to be a Christian, you don't have to be any other faith. Unless you're from the Satanists of the Abrahamic religions. I'm not going to say which one. Or you're from the cow people that lure people and have ships sunk. You know, the ones that like to play with the fecal matter of cows, or one of those. Or you're anybody else. Any human that is functioning and it is rational and that is reasonable looks at a school getting destroyed and he knows what guidance is from deviation. Otherwise, forget it. Once you show them this and they see this, if they disagree, no, he's from the adherents of the fire of hell. Because you can't be anything and accept this. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make us of those that are of the visitors of the shrine of Al-Hasan ibn Ali Al-Mushtaba salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, and grant us his intercession on the day of judgment. We ask you, Allah, these nights, especially Laylatul Qadr, the nights that you have, please ask Allah Azza wa Jal to hasten the reappearance of our master Al-Hujjat ibn Al-Hasan Al-Mahdi. Arwahuna fida. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. والأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات والأرواح موتانا جميعا، ولقضاء الحوائج وقبول الأعمال وشفاء المرضى وغفران الذنوب وتعجيل الفرج وحسن العاقبة، والأرواح الشهداء والمسلمين، وبالأخص إلى الشهيد السيد علي الخامنائي رحم الله من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة مع الصلوات